Phoebe slipped in.
Oh gosh, Phoebe, get out.
No, she's fine. It was just funny when I. Okay. So we're recording, and now I need to go live. And I probably should have my script. Okay. I always struggle with this part, you guys. I don't know why, but more. Oh, you know what? I'm not a host. Could someone who's a I assigned you guys all as co-hosts. Oh, another thing too. So if you're not talking, try not to make noise or just mute yourself each time. And when you talk, only your face shows up. So don't feel like you have to be like constantly smiling.
Okay, I changed you to host.
Oh, thank you. Okay, more. Okay, live on Facebook. Share on page you manage. Wow, that's a lot of clicking or whatever's going. All right. We're gonna do it, you guys. All right. I thought it was gonna give me a preview, but it's not. All right, well, we're just gonna go live. Okay, I think everything is on, so fabulous. We'll go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We're really excited to share another exciting topic covering where students could find the resources. So we'll start off by giving a quick bio background of our guests. Erica Loveland graduated from Hull High School in 2015 and transferred from IVCC in 2019 to Landmark College in Putney, Vermont. She recently graduated from Landmark with her bachelor's in liberal studies with a minor in communications. Erica shared that IVCC was the beginning of embracing myself as a neurodiverse student. Now she's an admission counselor for Landmark College, a college designed specifically for students with learning differences. Erica took advantage of various student resources while attending IVCC and then at Landmark College. We're excited to have Erica join us this evening and from across the country. Welcome, Erica.
Grace McCormick graduated from LaSalle Peru High School in 2019. Grace is an incoming sophomore from IVCC who, although not yet an alum, is well integrated into IVCC as she's a student worker in the Counseling Center and is the president of the Rotaract Club, branch of Rotary. And she's also a member of the IVCC social media team, and we love having her on there. We're so excited to have you here tonight, Grace. Thank you for joining us. And you're at work too.
Right. I'm in the counseling office right now, so happy to be here.
Wonderful. So we've got Grace and Erica with us tonight, and we're going to talk about what it means to find your resource networks on campus. And I think this is such an important topic for incoming students and current students, or even students that are thinking about going to another university or college. It's important to ask and look for those resources on campus. So this is our fifth topic, which is super excited out of this entire series that we're covering, again, to ease students' minds about what to expect for college, the college experience, and things that sometimes students don't necessarily want to ask and, how can I get help with this? So we hope to cover a lot of those things, especially during tonight's session. So with that, I always forget to do this, but I need to introduce myself. My name is Ezra Loveland, and I serve as the Assistant Director for Admissions, Records, and Transfer Services for IVCC, and also a proud IVCC alum.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gracelyn Quessy, and I am the Student Recruitment Specialist at IVCC. So my job is to encourage prospective students to explore what we have on campus, whether it be through our educational opportunities and transferring, or career options, CGE, which is Career and Technical Education. So whether you're attending college for the first time or you've attended some and have left and want to come back, we're here to help you out in starting or restarting the path that to reach your goals, your educational and your career goals. And we'd also like to take this time to remind you that as your local community college, it's part of our mission to serve as an educational and career resource for the residents of our district as a whole, whether or not you're an IVCC student. If you have questions about college, we want to talk to you. Once again, welcome Erica and Grace. We're so happy to have you here with us today. So we're gonna start off with the first question. We like to open up our conversations with, well, why did you guys choose IVCC?
So for me, in addition to being much less expensive than any other college option, IVCC really gave me the time and resources I needed in order to solidify what major I wanted to pursue, because leaving high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I've changed my mind a couple times since starting. And this way at home, I have a support system that helps me be as successful as possible.
And for me, I chose IVCC to get a feeling of expectations for college. I was a part-time student at IVCC, and I got to do my gen eds, get those done, and work on possible career paths classes while I was attending IVCC, and it was also very close to home.
Yeah, those are all fantastic reasons for attending. Everyone has their own reasons, and we've heard it all. So don't be afraid to come and apply, no matter what route you're on. We'd love to help you out. Do you guys recall when first time you were really struggling as a student, and when you first asked for help for academics in college? Was it nerve-wracking to ask for help? And do you mind sharing what you asked help for?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest child in my family. I have 4 younger brothers, and so I'm also the first one out of my immediate family besides my parents to go to college. My parents did attend IVCC as well, but things have changed, obviously, and we had a lot of questions. I went to the counseling center so I could have a better understanding of really like what to expect when attending IVCC and how I could best set myself up to transfer to a 4-year university. It was really nerve-wracking, especially as someone it's the first out of the kids in her family, and you're not really sure what to expect, and it's new and it's bigger, and I hadn't really done anything with IVCC in the past, but I didn't really know what visiting with a counselor was going to be like either. But everyone here, because I'm still here, is so nice, and they put me right at ease, and they know so much about any question that you have, and I really felt comfortable very quickly asking for help about anything that I wasn't sure about, and honestly I still do. I mean, there's not a day goes by that I'm not like, hey, do you have a minute? I have a question.
So a little backstory, I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the end of high school, so when I started IVCC, that was my first time I reached out to disability services. It was a huge step for me because I never asked for accommodations before. Of course, it was scary because I didn't know how to properly advocate for myself yet, but IVCC definitely working with disability services helped me get to that step to start advocating for myself.
And that's great. I'm so glad that you brought up the disability services that we have. Students are usually afraid to, it's the first step's always the scariest. But our director, Tina Hardy, is fantastic at working with students. So if you have anything that you'd like, testing accommodations or note taking or anything like that, that's something that they can help you out with at disability services.
All right, so the next question we have for you guys is, clearly you're thinking back like that first semester, or maybe it was the second semester. If you guys can think about, did you know where to actually go for a certain service, and was it easy for you to figure that out? Oh,
Can you hear me? Since I first started reaching out to disability services, that was really the beginning toward figuring out other services on campus. But I wouldn't have known if I weren't have been so close with Tina Hardy and she to introduce me to professors on campus and services. And since classes at IVCC are on the smaller side, I found it easy to reach out to professors and meet with them one-on-one to discuss projects and ideas that I had.
So that was actually one of my worst fears as a freshman on campus, is that I was terrified that I was going to get lost and miss all my classes, and then it just kind of spiraled from there, and I'm sitting there freaking out. My mom was like, hey, breathe. So but I did get a bit of a head start since I do work in the counseling center, which I'm sure you're going to hear me mention about 30 more times in this video. But I think as a new student, directions and information is very clear and easy to find. We have a wonderful security guard who sits at the desk. His name is Jim. He's fantastic. And you can ask him, where do I go to be in this room number? And he will give you very clear and easy to find directions. And there are posters everywhere on campus if you need help with finding like where an event is or where clubs meet. And social media is also frequently updated with new tips and tricks or resource outlets. So everyone in the building is pretty much dedicated to helping you be the best student you can be. So I think if you have a question or if you need help with directions, you'll be able to find someone to help you get there pretty quickly.
absolutely. And I know, even as a student, first generation college student, not really knowing where to go for, whether it was how to write a paper in a certain style format. I still can recall when I was asked to write something in Chicago style, and I'm like, what? That's a writing style? So it's nice to know that we have those resources on campus. So I'm curious, what resources did you end up taking advantage of while you were on campus, specifically maybe for Erica, and then what you're continuing to take advantage of, and why do you take advantage of these resources?
So I found that the resources that I used the most at IVCC were the Writing Center and Math Support, because meeting one-on-one gave me the chance to discuss what I specifically was stuck on. If it was trying to finish an essay or needed a second opinion, or figuring out a word problem, and having somebody break it down with me. These services were both free and easy to access. And when I transferred, it was easier for me to advocate for myself at the Writing Center and Math Support at Landmark College, where I finished my bachelor's degree.
Peer tutoring is great for those who struggle with classes. I know personally, both in college and in high school, I know I had to take stats twice, once in high school, once in college. And peer tutoring is definitely, I think, underutilized in the sense of it's such a great resource. It's totally free and it helps a lot. I did so much better the second time around because of the peer tutors, because of the teachers that I had. It's a really great resource to use, as well as the counseling center and student services. Because this is free to come visit you. Right now, we're not taking any in-person visits, but you can call and we'll set you up on a callback list. So you'll have a telephone conference with a counselor, which is great because there really isn't any decrease in the level of attention that they pay. So if anything, you're still getting the same great level of care, but now you can do it from bed. because they know so much and they'll be able to help you whether you're struggling with a certain subject or with a teacher or even just setting up a path to transfer, they'll be able to help you. So I definitely use them a lot.
And that's so important to acknowledge that and then also make the move to show up to the resource. You know, I tell students this all the time, even if you want someone to walk to the Learning Commons, by all means, just stop by our office, whether it's myself or Graceland. We're happy to walk you over and introduce you to the professionals over there. And it just, you feel more at ease to know that it's okay. And it's been great to work with the peer tutors. They are amazing. And they know that it can feel intimidating as well. So it's one of those things that it's always going to feel a little bit, you know, nerve wracking, but know that there's individuals there that are willing to help.
Peer tutoring also has my vote for being a great resource, and I definitely utilized it as an undergrad. Which reminds me about all the times I was at peer tutoring over and over again. And so how often did you guys use the resources or any specific resource on campus?
I definitely use the counselors the most, which kind of makes sense because I'm here all the time anyway. But peer tutoring, I think, is something that I would visit if I just had a question or if I need something explained again. Angie does a good job. But I would make my appointment with the counselors far in advance, or if they were doing walk-ins, I would sneak in when I could, just to check and make sure I was going the way I needed to, because they really are able to help you stay on track regardless of whether or not you think you need the help. It's really good to go and check in with them, as well as student services, just kind of finding out what you can get involved in. But yeah, they're a great, I can't speak highly enough about them, about how well you can, how much farther you can go if you work with them to kind of increase your success.
And for me, I met with disability services every week. It helped manage my time and scheduling to be able to use math and writing support 2 to 3 times a week.
And what resource do you guys think is underutilized on campus? And why do you think that is? And what would you recommend to people?
I think peer tutoring for sure. I think students are often a little too shy or too embarrassed to ask for help, especially from people their own age, but they really shouldn't be, because everyone, including the peer tutor at IVCCs, their main goal is to help you succeed, whether it's scholarship, essay assistance, math tutoring, or otherwise. Their goal is to help you. And there really isn't any need to feel shame or embarrassment about that, because we all need a little help sometimes.
I wish I worked closer with Jacob's library, because I thought you could find everything on Google, and that's not the case. And I wish that I could have used their research technology to work on my research projects and work closely with librarians, because that's what they're there for.
Thanks for being so honest. I mean, I think even looking back at my time, there's just so many resources you don't realize. And then when you do, you're like, oh, I have like maybe a year or semester, so I better take advantage of it. So it's always important to just keep your eye out and be willing to put yourself in that position to ask for help. So speaking of asking for help, what advice would you give students if they're hesitant in asking for help? Again, I'm looking and thinking back of my experience. I was nervous, and I was definitely stubborn. I just didn't want to get to a point where like admit that I needed assistance, especially with math. So what would you tell a student?
I would say be honest with yourself. Own it that you need the help. Just remember a time where you were afraid before to ask for help, and it helped tremendously, and you didn't even think that you could do it, but asking for help makes a huge difference, and be proud of that.
The sooner you ask for help, the less trouble you'll have down the road, for sure. I can't think of how many times I've struggled that I could have made so much less stressful for myself if I just asked for help when it had started to be a problem. Like I said, no one here wants to see you fail, and they will help you reach your goals but you have to ask. You have to take that first step. And that's really the most important part.
Absolutely. And working with students, you know, from the high school level and even some of our, you know, returning students, we're not mind readers. So it's very important to think about, you know, the resource that you're wanting to use and seeing if there's someone that you do feel comfortable in asking for that help. So that's something I just want to share again. You know, I remember hearing that and I'm like, they should be mind readers, but, or it can tell if you're struggling, but that's not the case. So some of the other questions that we get, and maybe more so from the parents, is, you know, does IVCC or really a lot of other colleges require you to pay for some of these resources? Can you guys share your perspective and experience?
So I never had to pay for my resources while attending IVCC, which was fantastic, because paying extra, it's not fair sometimes to pay extra for certain resources. So I'm really grateful that IVCC resources were free.
And I can really say the same. I've used them so often, and it's so nice to have that privilege of being able to have access to almost unlimited information for free, especially for students from all walks of life, socioeconomically, I mean, in regards to learning disability, or, you know, people who need extra assistance, or maybe English as a second language. It's really nice to be able to have the same benefits for every student.
So in your research about colleges and visits to colleges and all that stuff, can you list the various resources that most colleges offer?
I only really know from IVCC and from what I've seen looking for when I transfer, but it seems like everybody's got tutoring, counseling, financial aid, a writing center. Some four-year colleges have medical offices and a women's center I've seen, so it's a lot of student aid in most colleges.
Some that I've come across are career counseling, is advising, coaching, informational technology, and centers of diversity and inclusion.
Thank you for sharing. I know, again, I'm always bringing up my experience, but having like a medical center or some kind of mini hospital on campus was always nice, especially if you weren't sure what was going on, if you weren't feeling too well. So we'll get into more specific questions. So I have a question for Erica. What made you successful in college, and was it easy to find academic and personal resources once you transferred?
So learning to advocate for myself at IVCC made me stronger to transfer and find those services. Finding resources once I transferred was a breeze, because I built those skills, building them with Tina Hardy in disability services, but also meeting with my professors. It shook off the nerves, and then I got to take that to my four-year college and really build great connections with professors and residence deans, and so much more than I would have thought from just learning how to advocate.
Yep. And I think is so important for students to just do that and make that first step in working with, you know, an instructor or whatever resource. And I've been lucky enough, obviously, that you're my sister-in-law, to hear and see you take advantage of these resources. And I think that you get so much more of an experience when you can connect with an instructor. And I'm going to bring this up and probably embarrass you, but the fact that you were able to connect so closely with an instructor that you had an opportunity to go to Botswana for research, I think that is such a valuable skill that if students can build on that and work on that starting at, you know, whether it's high school and then to IVCC and then beyond, I think it really, really makes a difference. And I'm assuming that it was life-changing for you.
Absolutely.
Grace, can you share what you believe makes you successful at IVCC?
I think that having a good support system is really the key, as well as you have to have a desire to do well for yourself, not just other people. I have many friends, coworkers, and family members who I know that I can turn to for assistance, but I want to do well for myself too. What I'm majoring in, nonprofit management, project management, I'm really passionate about. I want to help people. And that makes me want to succeed. It makes me want to do well in my classes. It makes me want to get the high grades. It makes me want to take the opportunities. So really it all comes down to how badly you want to succeed. And an added bonus is your support system that helps you get there.
Thank you for sharing. So we also have one last question. This pandemic's been a weird time for all of us. Some days you're spinning in circles. Some days you don't want to get out of bed. Some days you want to run a marathon, or just read all day. How have you guys been spending it?
I can go. Okay. So for me, I'm currently working, but as a student about 2 months ago, a huge part was doing virtual Zumba classes and virtual women's workout with our school. That's finding people to work out with virtually is a blessing. And I just can't even imagine my weeks without virtual Zumba. It's incredible. So find your people and have those times, even just conversations with friends that you haven't talked to for a while.
I have not been working out. I commend you for that. But I am working here and also at Stone Jug Barbecue. Today was actually my first day back at the counseling center, so I'm super excited about that. I spent a lot of time writing. I published a book, and I'm currently working on my second one. And this is kind of goofy, but I'm also a birthday party princess. I'll do social distancing birthday visits for kids who have their birthday over quarantine, are kind of bummed about it. And it's actually been working really well. So I might, once this whole pandemic is over, I might keep doing that.
Well, I certainly want to know when you start your own business, and also very excited to hear about this book. So, and I wish I could have the same energy as Erica to work out. But, all kidding aside, we thank you so much for not only taking the time to share your experiences, reflections, but also really encouraging students to think about what that feels like to ask for help. So thank you again, Erica and Grace. Again, Gracelyn and I just thrive when we get to connect with students. So our contact information's on the screen. So if you have a question about really anything, when is the payment deadline? Let us know. We're ready to assist students. And we want you to also be aware that we have plenty of resources that students can look into. A lot of it is online, so even if you just Google IVCC student resources, you'll get a page full of tons of stuff, whether it's personal or academics. We're here for you. So please don't hesitate to ask for help, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to Gracelyn.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Join us next Wednesday at 6:30, same time, same place, to discuss study tips and time management. See you then.